Throughout the week, this has been the spotlight and, of course, the catnip issue that is affecting the country right now. Allow me to introduce our guest. We have with us Dr. Wirunga Simiyu, who is the CEO of Africa Center for Security and Strategic Studies. Also, we have with us Dr. Charles Owino, who is the Director General of the National Communication Center, Dr. Martin Olo, who is the Advocate of the High Court, and also Associate Dean at the School of Law, DStv University. Eagerly waiting to be joined by Joshua Kiptur as well, who is an Advocate of the High Court. And just to interrogate this matter, I'll begin with you, Dr. Wirunga Simiyu, just listening to what has been happening today, information also coming to hand from the Communications Authority, who are starkly denying sharing Albert Ojwang's data with police. And they're saying it has no access to real-time call data. Telcos require warrants to release it. And this is what we had the Inspector General of Police speaking from the stand there, saying that they got the information also from the Communications Authority of Kenya. So he has apologized, first of all, for misleading the public that Ojwang's death was caused by self-infliction, right? Batting his head on the wall. And now we have another one from the Communications Authority of Kenya. But what do you read from your tea leaves?
I think when we start with the first one, I'll want to defer to him about the issue of Communication Authority. It touches a bit on legal issues. But what I've picked from when we started this story, first, the narrative is to confuse Kenyans. Because we are being told this at this moment, the following day we are given another story. And at the end of the day, I think what we are being shown is shifting of blame from this group of senior officers to junior officers, back to middle officers, so that if we are not careful at the end of the day, the big ones will walk away and the junior ones will suffer.
So we have, Sam Salam being picked as a prime suspect.
Yes.
He did not receive, of course, the suspect to be in custody. He's totally denied. So what do you think also of that particular development?
I've read the service standing orders, and I think the OCS, if it is true he refused, because the person was being booked in was in a bad state of physical stature, I think it allows them to say no. But what we are being told by the DCI is like Talam refused for purposes that he himself knows. Initially, we were told he said he's not going to accept this person because he instructed that the person be taken to hospital. Now we are being told that when this person was brought from Homa Bay to Central Police Station, he was in good health. So I think this narrative, maybe Mr. Owino, having been part of the whole system, we are being taken around this narrative, and it is going to confuse many Kenyans who are not serious about what we are hearing. But at the end of the day, Debal, this country wants to be told
the truth.
The truth. That's what we are looking for.
Which seems to be very elusive.
No, the truth is not elusive. The truth is, a Deputy Inspector General complained. The truth is, DCI began to investigate. The truth is, they arrested this young man from his home when he was having lunch with his father. The truth is, they booked him in a police station, local, and they drove him to Nairobi. I'm saying to Nairobi, not to Central Police Station. I'm saying they drove him to Nairobi. That's true. The truth is that from the time this gentleman was apprehended from the hands of his father or from the comfort of his home, he was in police hands. And so we cannot run away from that. You can characterize it in any other way. What we are now being treated to are three things. One, is the Constitution of Kenya 2010 as it is in play, was it violated by the DIG? Was it violated by the DCI? Was it violated by the National Police Service? The answer is yes. Why? When you hear the statements being made by the police, even by the Inspector General, and even their press statements, They are saying that they investigated and that CAK told them who this person was and that EACC denied, and therefore they said this is a false report. How fallacious is that? Because the decision as to decide whether there is a crime committed or not is one that investigators come to at the conclusion and they pass on to the DPP for decision to charge. Already, the police are behaving in the past where they would investigate and determine there's a crime and proceed to lay charges. That was before 2010. Not even DCI can investigate, conclude, and make a decision to charge. Not in this day and age. That decision to charge must involve an independent review of that evidence by the DPP, and therefore agree to charge. So we know the truth. Everything else we are being treated to is drama. Between the DCI and the police, this ball must be passed on to somebody. Yes, the OCS may have refused to book, but what was the reason and what did he do? Now, the whole circumstance around this case is choreographed in such a way that the story that is coming out seems to be one that is scripted. So the CS, Honorable Murkomen, is reading the same script with the IG. The only exception is IPOA. The only people who are telling us there seems to have been foul play and interference with the scene or interference with the evidence is IPOA, which perhaps again is right because IPOA has a responsibility as an independent police oversight authority to investigate the police. They are telling us that we have told the IPOA to take over. No, the police does not order, does not even direct IPOA on how to investigate a matter that involves the police. So obviously what we are being treated to is obvious. We are being told back, right, the truth is this gentleman died in the hands of the police. Initially the police said no, he committed suicide. This is not strange. We know of stories where we have been told that somebody shot himself, somebody broke his leg after and poured acid on himself. Those are stories we've been told, and sometimes have even been authenticated by, and I'm saying that in quotes, by pathologists. So basically what we are saying here is that we know the truth. It's not elusive, and we shouldn't even be wasting our time on this.
All right, let me come to you, Dr. Charles Owino, just also to make it very limpid for us as well. Now, given just the standard police operating procedures, is it ever justifiable that, a suspect will be transported 480 kilometers for questioning, right? And what does it really tell about intent and proportionality at the end of the day?
Thank you, Diba. First of all, I want to start with gray areas. It is said that the first report that was made by the IG was that this guy committed suicide and that he did it through by hitting his head on the wall. It is important to understand how IG receives reports. When incidences occur or crimes are committed, the police always write situation reports, what we call SITREP. It originates from the station where the incident has occurred. The situation report that was sent to police headquarters for that incident was that this person had committed suicide and that he had hit his head on the wall. And that is exactly what the IG reported. When other facts came up and questions were raised, for example, you find that it was said this man was in his own room. So the first question that an investigator would ask is that if he was in his own room, who saw him hit his head on the wall? Because he could have been in a room with other people, then they would have seen. So you find somebody maybe unconscious, you cannot conclude that this person. So it is important to know that it's not a game by the IG to have said what he said. He reported what was reported to him, and he believed on what was reported to him. But because a serious matter that involves death and a lot of suspicions and the general relationship of police and the public, people can make conclusions. But that was the reason why the IG made that statement. And so far, he has boldly apologized after getting the correct information.
So was he also given a very misleading information regarding the Communications Authority and also retrieving some of his accounts that we can see Communications Authority also startly denying that they provided this information?
Definitely the IG does not investigate any case. The IG gets information from his officers unless he's directly involved. I've not followed the issue of Communications Authority. I'm not privy to much details about it, but I'll give an overview later.
But these are some of the gray areas that actually which are emerging.
Let me talk of the areas I understand. The next question was about the OCS refusing to book. If it is true, I didn't get DCI well. If it is true that the OCS refused to book a suspect, it is within the responsibility of the OCS to refuse to book a suspect if he's of the opinion that the suspect is not in good health. Even if it would be his own officers who have gone for patrol, what he would do is to book the suspect and say the suspect is not in good health and refer the suspect to hospital. But remember, the DCI headquarters has jurisdiction across the country. They can book you anywhere depending on the jurisdiction in which the person ought to be charged. So DCI headquarters can book you in central Nairobi, can book you in any police station in Nairobi of their choice. So if it is true the OCS refused, the only thing that the question that would be asked, why did you refuse to book? If the persons were in good health, why did you refuse to book? But if the person was not in good health and he advised that the person be booked elsewhere, then there is nothing wrong for him to have done that. The third thing is that I've heard people say that there was no offense committed by the deceased person. The deceased has died and therefore it is very painful to talk about him. But the question is, I am told that this person had made a false publication. Under the Misuse of Computer and Cybercrime Act, there's an offense of that nature, false publication. Mm-hmm. In fact, there's even what we call social engineering, where people do online dating and then other things come in. There are also even false identity. Like today, if you go to Facebook, I have a very nice Facebook account. I've talked to my colleagues to bring it down. It has not been brought down. If you go to Facebook account, you'll find an account with my name, and I've put on a suit and a sweater. It is not my account. It is a... It's a parody. It's a false... It's a false identity in this particular account. There are a number of offenses which take place. But equally, Lagat, as the Deputy Inspector General, did not report this matter to a police station. He reported this matter to DCI headquarters, which is not within his authority. He's a DIG for Kenya Police. He just runs police stations and police formations. And as a human being, though this has happened and it is bad, whether he's involved or not will be found, will be established. But he has a right to make a complaint. Just like today somebody is using my identity even to defraud people. Mm-hmm. If today the way I've reported and then this person is arrested and maybe somebody misbehaves and does a wrong thing. So what we are saying is it is investigations that will lead us. And I can tell you, this kind of investigation you cannot eschew. Investigations start from a certain point to another point.
Thank you.
This person was, just a minute, this suspect was in police custody. What we now need to confirm, and police officers must tell us, the OCS of the police station must tell us, the officers who are in the police station must tell us, and I want to tell my colleagues, nobody is going to protect any senior officer who was involved in this death. But it is the responsibilities of those officers. For example, if, for example, an officer was told to go and kill that man, what makes it difficult for him to say? Who will beat him?
Good
so
question.
What is most important
Thank you.
There would be direct evidence that people would give in relation to this, and up to where we are, it is very clear that a person has been involved in causing death.
Right. So is there any rhyme or reason, first of all, if I may come to Joshua Kipto, that we have the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, Mohammed Amin, putting the spotlight on Sam Talam as a prime suspect? Is it pronounced prematurely? Because we've not been given any rhyme or reason why he denied actually having custody of Alberto Joang.
Thank you so much, Dibal. And I want to appreciate, I've just been following the conversation, and I think I would want to pick from what my senior Dr. Martin Olo said, the knowns. And then Mr. Owino, having been in the position, has also given the operational reality on what happens. From the two, having had the clear knowns that this was person under the custody of the police. What has happened today in the Senate is basically backpassing, whereby it's a question of, now that we have some established facts, postmortem has cleared us from the speculation as to what caused death. Now it's clear this person has been killed. Because of that, you now see institutions, because this is now more or less like an internal backpassing, whereby no one expected before Senate DCI Amin could contradict his boss, because DCI boss reports to the IG. The IG is the overall. And as Mr. Owino has detailed, I would empathize with the DG for actually doing what most Kenyan top bosses do. They always get a prepared script. This is always a case of a prepared script. He'll just go read. For example, by the time he's implicating, for example, CAK, it is what his team or his people have just prepared, but possibly because now the DG just goes and reads and say, prepare and share this. The only challenge with this, especially when it involves such a highly emotive issue, before Senate, where you have so many lawyers, now it almost appears it's a form of because today it ended up being a case of now interrogation where every detail count. What happened? Exactly what played out in terms of backpassing, where the DCI now would try to showcase that in as far as we are concerned, now that it was DCI officers that picked this person all the way from Homa Bay, the next question, which now Mr. Owino has called gray areas, then actually it flanks open the door for more questions, because when DCI says, under our custody, he did not confirm or deny whether this person was kept at whatever period at the DCI headquarters. He said our officers treated him with humility and handed over. And then when you see him coming on the table to directly implicate Talam, that for me is a case of trying to exonerate his officers, and says for the DCI, our action was simple: arrest and handover. So Owino has said very well, DCIs do not have a police station. They have jurisdiction across the republic. So for them, they would want to have a jail out of the, get out of the jail card by saying, we arrested, and look at the statement he used. We treated him with utmost humility. That's like you're trying to make a case for yourself, and says, as regards the DCI, our job ended at getting, arresting, and handing over. And then they will say, as to what happened post that, then it's not. That means what is absent in this, and post the Senate proceedings today, what is so critical, which I feel is missing, is then the specific OCS and the receiving officers at Central. What is their take? What is their story? And by virtue their bosses have spoken to the Senate today, I am really optimistic and hopeful, and I'm almost certain they will now speak up, because now it's a case of everyone has to speak for himself. Importantly, I feel that the more the DIG, who is the complainant, stays, the more pressure the police service absorbs. Because in the eyes of or in the court of public opinion, his senior rank as the second in command, being in charge of operations and being the complainant, perception, we are not saying that it is confirmed, but perception-wise, if you look at the court of public opinion, he's seen as a person of interest, having control, having power, that even if you say the DCI have to investigate, then it becomes a problem. And the statements made by Amin today even complicates it further, because he's now implicating a separate branch of the same service. So for me, first thing first, there's what I call trying to go above the moral code. If it were me, if it was in my position or in my personal opinion, the DIG then would have taken the step and say, look, I am subject, I am the complainant. The feeling, of course, is that because justice must be seen to be done, even where the perception is negative. There's nothing that stops him from just stepping aside and saying, good, now we want to give a bit of open space so that if you are to do any investigation, and something more important that I saw, from this is the only time IPOA is going to get a chance to redeem and prove themselves, because even the IG himself, everyone has been throwing the ball to IPOA. Every time IPOA has always complained of being sidelined by the police bosses, by the DCI.
So now they have a sporting chance to prove themselves.
Now this is their best chance, because everyone, including Senate, said, IPOA, the buck stops with you, you have to give clarity. But in the meantime, on matters governance, on just to try easing the public pressure, it would have been in the best interest of the entire police service if the second in command, the DIG, would just step aside.
Pave way for investigation. Thank you. Just hang on it so that we can also hear the apology from the Inspector General of Police. The Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kanja, has admitted that the police misled the country in reporting the death of social media influencer Albert Ojwang. The IG, appearing before senators, has issued a public apology as the autopsy revealed that Ojwang did not die by suicide, as earlier claimed. Adrin Kilemi now reports.